Practicing the religion they brought from the East has not only given them the name Idanre, but also earned them an aura of mystery. The name Idanre was coined out of two words, Idan meaning magic and Are meaning person. In ancient times, the people of Idanre were well known for their magical powers. They were therefore referred to as the people of magic or the magic people.
Idanre is an ancient settlement which covers about 619 square miles and approximately it can be 1,584 square kilometers. The people of Idanre, they lived there for over 800 years before they moved downhill.
The new town of Idanre is situated 1,000 feet above sea level, while the ancient town is put at 4,200 feet above sea level. From the foot of the hills to the top now are 678 steps. From the foot to the top of the hills are 5 resting points along the trail. Climbing the 678 steps could be exhilarating but rewarding. The breathtaking view of the settlement below and how snug it looked between the hills. The shapes and curves of the hills are so fascinating, rising from large expanse of land, mountains upon mountains, valleys upon valleys. It is indeed awe-inspiring in size and form. On getting to the top of the hills, the cradle of the ancient town, one is usually torn between where to go and what first to see. The entire environment is enchanting. A unique ambience created by the chirping of birds, chirruping insects, soft soothing sound of the wind, all coming together to form a delicious harmony in the air. In this tranquil surrounding, it is easy to understand why Governor Gilbert Thomas Carter had stated in a memo, "Personally, I would far rather spend a couple of months amongst these delightful mountains than at the Canary Island," quote unquote.
Going to Idanre, you find wonderful things that have what we call universal outstanding value. In other words, the uniqueness cannot be comparable with any other site, even in Africa or even in Nigeria also. Climbing Idanre, you have to go through about 670 concrete steps uphill. It is very challenging, it is very mountaineering, and it is very interesting. We have these ruins of district officer's house where the DO, that is district officers in the colonial period, resided just almost opposite the chalet at Idanre Hill.
Whenever and wherever their story is asked to be told, the people of Idanre say they are never contented to say they come from Ile-Ife. Even the traditional storytellers say in their songs that they come from far, a very distant place, but it is a pity they cannot go back. They wish they had a bird to fly over there and deliver their message. For many centuries until recent times, stories could only be picked up from songs and recitations during festivals and other ceremonies. These stories of the forefathers from the East were passed down to them by their forefathers, far, far back in history. They say that Oduduwa had led them away from his own country, where he and his brother Olofi were princes. On their journey, before arriving at Ile-Ife, the forefathers named a few people and about 5 to 6 places they had stopped at, including the details of Oduduwa and Olofi being light-skinned with long straight hair, not black as widely believed. Today, those who inherited Oduduwa's regalia pretend to have white skin by rubbing chalk on their bodies, and pretend to have long hair by attaching hair extensions to their heads while wearing those regalia.
But what interesting thing that civilization has not has little or no impact on the culture of the people. They still hold tenaciously and jealously to their culture, their cultural areas, like festivals. We have so many of them there, and we have Kata's well dug by Kata in 1894, very close to the first primary school that was built in 1894. And the primary school, you can still see the ruins, walls standing as of today. And even the chalkboard, or what we call blackboard, you can see the samples there. It is very interesting that most people from Idanre, who are big men today, attended the school, like the Owa himself, the Owa of Idanre land. If you excavate the place, it shows that Idanre has been an educated place before now.
Maybe because Olofin acquired for himself the very important and powerful crown of Oduduwa with his regalia, the Otitibiti, the Oriye, the Jorere horsetail, and the Ubon, the bangles inside of which a face similar to the Festec symbols are engraved. However, Olofin was already aged when he shepherded his people to Utaja. He did not live long enough to see them through Ufeoke, popularly referred to as Ode Idanre, the ancient town. Legend has it that when Olofin became weak in body, he called his people together and intimated them with what he suspected might happen to him. Before he finally departed to the great beyond, he was said to have promised to come to the aid of the people in times of trouble, pestilence, famine, or epidemic after the sacrifice. He was said to have walked into the Uwakota cave. He died and was buried. Having led the people on the journey from Ile-Ife and eventually welding them together, Olofin was regarded as the founder of Idanre and accepted as their spiritual father. In recognition of his deeds among the people, Olofin was deified. In time, the people discovered that Utaja was getting too small for their ever-growing population, and its initial security posture was becoming very worrisome. The need to safeguard the covetous possessions of Oduduwa's paraphernalia and also to protect their young ones from abductors were among the many reasons Idanre people had to seek a safer and more secured abode. Ufeoke, ancient town of Idanre, on top of the hills, was discovered by a hunter named Akure. The hunter came across this settlement during one of his expeditions. A group of men were then chosen to go and verify Akure's discovery and its suitability for their purpose. These people, on inspection, not only saw the virgin expanse of land as good for habitation, but also agreed that the surrounding hills would serve as a useful and effective bulwark against external attacks. The people later discovered that Ufeoke was not as deserted as Akure and the first set of men to visit the place thought. Accounts of the Agbogun entourage, handed down from generation to generation, showed that some queer beings with very big noses, big eyeballs and large ears at that time already inhabited the place. These creatures were sparsely covered with leaves, probably to their magical, intuitive or physical superiority. Agbogun and his people effectively and easily imposed themselves on the Aborigines. Just like the Aborigines, the earliest settlers found shelter for themselves in caves. Area of residence was partitioned into quarters to clearly define borders. Mode of accommodation was also developed into using mud for the structure, and palm fronds and leaves were used for the roofing. The historical settlement is nestled on a plateau at the top of the hills. Cleverly planted under the protective shield of Orosun Hills is the ancient palace that has housed more than 25 Owas and their families from generation to generation. Close to the entrance of Owa's palace is Shubale's house. Shubale was the ruler of the Aborigines, who later became subordinate to the Owa and assumed the position of Owa's chief security officer. He sees to the screening of all visitors seeking audience with the Owa. In the ancient times, those who take on this title know that on the day the Owa passed on, they would be prepared to escort the Owa on his journey to the great beyond. At the entrance of the Owa Palace, you will find a building of the security officials, while inside on the right-hand side is the office of the secretary to the Owa. The ancient palace contains several courtyards, uga, and major shrines. The Olori's quarters are behind and beside the palace respectively. The main courtyard is rectangular and surrounded by two long verandas and shrines. The palace comprises of several buildings interconnected with courtyards and doorways, a main courtyard for public gatherings and several private courtyards and shrines. Ajale, Owa's personal shrines situated in the inner courtyard. It is usually planted in the morning after a new Owa enters the palace. The monarch knows and feels the pulse of the community through the leaves on the tree. It would be mysteriously covered with termites or fungi if there is a rebellion or conflict within the community.
Ajale is so important for the Owa. It makes Owa to know what is going on in the town. It makes Owa to know whether he enjoying the confidence of his people. If his shed leaf, we are seeing yellow like a chlorophyll and so on, it means that the town people are not very happy. The Owa will have to adjust himself.
The Cowhead Shrine. The main shrine where all chiefs traditionally take oaths of allegiance. Annual rites are performed here, and the number of cowheads indicates the number of years of the reign of the Owa. There are currently about 31 cowheads in this shrine.
But we're talking about potentials of the place, the landmarks. We have the old school, the old field, which the state government want to turn to recreation park or recreation areas where crafts will be sold, where crafts will be developed, where people or community will be empowered. And the one spectacular thing you can get there is the Church Belfry. Church Belfry is located atop of a rock just over the Odeja. that is Market Square, overlooking the Owa's Palace. It is also very unique and contains a lot of what we call courtyards. But one interesting thing is that the court house where people were judged, the court was built in 1904, and that court contains sitting for judges, sitting for audience. It had what we call witness box where people will stay. You have a small cell where people will be put for some weeks before they were taken to the prison if need be. And immediately near the courtyard we have the mud where most of the festivals terminated, like Ije festival, where the chief or the Oba we go there, dance in remembrance of the past, especially the ancestors.
Agaga Hills. Housing the mysterious footprint is Agaga Hill, christened after Agbogun and popularly called the magical footprint because of its ability to expand and contrast when used in detecting witchcraft. This practice has since ceased to be. It was stopped by the present Owa in order to discourage blacklisting and victimization. However, the footprint of rock, even without expansion or contraction, remains a mystery and one of the major attractions to tourists visiting the ancient town.
Interesting, beautiful up there. Yeah, I never knew I could climb the hill in my life, all my life. This is an opportunity, a privilege. I will live to remember. I'll tell my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and if God says I'll see my great-great-grandchildren, I'll tell them. There are several things that could be done because this is the site that has so many paths for adventure. We could have an auditorium there. We could have a playground there. We could have a picnic stand there. At the same time, one could have a swimming pool up there because people will come for fun time. They should at least feel very much at home at the top of the hills and still feel very much like they never climbed the hills.
I saw so many interesting things there. This footprint on a rock, and it's still there. And even according to the man who took us down there, Mr. Tunde, he told us that that was what they used in identifying the witchcraft during those days. So I tried putting my feet there. So, which means I don't have any gloss. I am more than convinced that it is not lies but truth, and nothing but the truth.
Ame Olofi. Next among the many wonders of this ancient town on the hills is the writing on the rock. Originally known by the natives as Ame Orisha Agbaye, sign of the height deity, the imprint on the hill looks like an inscrutable letter of the alphabets. Some researchers say the letter is older than the Hebrew language. Some of the letters inscribed on the rock include X, NVII, an inverted V, and two slanting parallel lines. Further off the vicinity of giant trees and lustrous vegetation, the flow of water from a pristine source forms a powerful backdrop that brings back to life a legend that predates the presence of the immigrants in the hills. As you walk through the passage of mighty trees, amidst mangrove forests and thick vegetation and creeping creepers, is Arun Yeye, a tributary to Aron, a magical pool of water which is said to be imbued with healing powers. For many centuries until this moment, this stream remains a last resort to the problems of many believers. As it was told, It was at this very stream that Orosun, the goddess of prosperity, was mediating when she was discovered by Idanre, the hunter's boy. It was at this point that the great hunter, Akure, attacked and attempted to kill Orosun. But as fate would have it, the insurmountable Akure was killed by the woman Orosun. However, Orosun had mercy on Akure's young boy rather than kill him. She spared the boy's life and sent him home with a stick that would help him to find his way. This stick of many centuries ago still remains an integral part in the culture of the Idanre people. The high chiefs in Idanre must be seen with sticks during Orosun's festival, and they are led by High Chief Osolo, a descendant of the very first boy who kept the original stick. Idanre people are custodians of many religious shrines. There are probably over 2,000 shrines scattered all over the ancient town. The most significant are Uwakota, the Olofin's shrine, Orosun's shrines, all other shrines within and around the ancient palace, Ude and Umogun's shrines. Others are Lobu, Asunre, and Owa's shrine in Aji. Next are the shrines of the 7 Aworos, namely Osolo, Lori, Odofin, Jogoro, Sama, and Laja. Within these shrines are several others. These 7 priests and their shrines are very important to Owa in the successful administration of his people. Orosun's shrine is situated in Aji, under the close custody of Lobu. Some of Orosun's properties, as she had left them many centuries ago, are still available to be seen. Uwakota, Olofin's shrine, is at Utaja, the last settlement of the people before they went up the hills. The forest leading to it used to be awesome because of its mystique. No human being goes there except during the Olofin festival. At the entrance of the cave are some of his properties, also kept there for about 1,000 years. Uwakota is the most dreaded of all Olofin's shrines. This is where Olofin supposedly died and was buried. The wearing of shirts or blouses into any of Olofin's or Orosun's shrine is forbidden. On approaching the shrines, visitors are told to remove their tops. Lori, an Olofin priest. He lives in the shrine and remains on the hills. Osolo is Orosun's chief priest. He also stays in the shrine. Next is the Ije festival. Ije festival is also historically and culturally significant to the Idanre people. When Agbogun became very old and could no longer perform some of the rites required of him as an Owa, he crowned Bagaju and handed over to him for protection the cultural heritage and the inheritance from their forefathers. Agbogun remained in Isalu, while Bagaju moved to the ancient palace. However, Agbogun demanded once in a year the presentation of the inheritance to him and the entire people of Idanre. In ancient times, Bagaju, on the day of the celebration, would present himself, fully adorned in Oduduwa's regalia, and proceed in the company of his family to see Agbogun at his resting home. There he would sit on Agbogun's lap and receive blessings. This practice is still intact even after Agbogun has passed away, after several hundred years ago. Although physically Agbogun may not be there, but a big stone remains on the very spot where Agbogun used to sit many centuries ago, and the Owa goes there yearly on the night of the Iden festival. He sits on the stone and imagines sitting on Agbogun's lap. The morning after the ceremony marks the 7th day of the festival. The 7th day of the festival is the first day of the cultural calendar of the Idanre people.